Hello, this is the Justin, and this will be my spoiler-free Tron Legacy review. When I say spoiler-free, I mean like 89% spoiler. There are gonna be some things that are gonna be said. Now you might not like it, but it ain't gonna ruin your time. Alright, I'm not gonna tell you anything that happens at the end. I'm not gonna tell you how Lou Gossett Jr. and Forrest Whitaker act. Oh crap! No, I'm just playing. It's a joke. It's a joke. Please don't turn it off. But as with all reviews, I like to start off with what I don't like. Um, okay, I don't like that it has become it's not like a game anymore. I mean, it is a game. They are in the grid, which is the digital world that Kevin Flynn from the first movie had created. So they are on the grid. It is essentially a game, but it's more so of an advanced computer system, and it doesn't feel like the '82 Tron felt, where it was like, wow, he's like inside of a video game. This really didn't feel a lot like that. This felt like, okay, it has become something else. And while that may be like a progression, which it is, but I just kind of feel like they kind of kept with that angle just a little bit, um, just a little bit more. Um, you know. Uh, but my main gripe about this entire movie is Sam Flynn, who is Kevin Flynn's son, who has come to the grid to find his long lost father. First of all, he he comes as like this daredevil, thrill-seeking type kid, who is actually way older than what he is. They reveal in the movie like he's like 30 something, and I was like, wow. Yeah, you were way older than what I thought you were, because he acts like he's like 19, 22 or something like that, and he's like close to being 40. And it's like, okay, that's weird. But I hate his reactions to things. Like, if I got sucked into a universe or a world that I have never seen before, that I've only heard stories about, I would be not only crapping my pants, but asking a buttload of questions. What Sam is in the movie is some type of prodigal son type character. Yet he doesn't have anything that truly separates him apart from the other programs and characters in the movie. But as soon as he goes on the grid, he becomes this free running ninja of like I mean like he just cannot, be stopped. These programs who have lived on the grid forever, who know the ins and outs of it, can't beat them. And and it's not a charming type, oh wow, I'm just good or something like that. And there were no indications that he was even anything like that in the real world scenes. Like there were a few things, but it was nothing to the extent that it was when he was on the grid. Like he's just all of a sudden just like awesome. And it just like knows what to do. It's like, no, unrealistic. And I know that feels stupid to say that's unrealistic. Well then it's not even fictionally sound then. You don't just one day, who you've never rode on a skateboard before, and like you buy a skateboard and you're awesome, you're Tony Hawk. That doesn't happen. So I really didn't like the fact that they just made him just like the superhero at the beginning, especially since there was nothing written into him that would suggest anything extraordinary. Um, and the way he walked is so pretentious, and so like he walks like Stone Cold Steve Austin, but like without all the coolness. Because Stone Cold is like like cool. He's like the bad, he's like the bad boy. Uh, this kid just walks like he has like a massive life cycle fuel rod stuck up his butt. Like I don't understand why he walks like that, and it comes off so arrogant. It's like I'm trying to be cool. I'm in Tron. I got myself a Tron suit on. I'm glowing. Let's go dance to some Daft Punk. It's like, what the freak? Like, can you just walk normal? Or can you try not to look like you know that you're in a cool movie? Like, please. So I really didn't like that. Um, that's really my only gripe about the movie. Uh, but it is essentially a huge gripe because he was like the focal point of the movie, so I didn't like the way he was portrayed. You know. Onward to things I do like. I do like where the story has progressed at this point. Not to give anything away, I mean, but unless you've been hiding under a rock, of course, Kevin Flynn, um, the programmer or the user in the first movie who created Tron, has been lost in his world, portrayed by Jeff Bridges, who is awesome. Um, he has been forced into exile because his program, uh, Clue, who was in the first movie, you should watch the first movie. That's not giving anything away. Once again, keep your panties on. But Clue was a program that he made in his image that was actually in like the first 15 minutes of Tron in back in '82, and Clue has now become this totalitarian, uh, totalitarian tyrant, very digital Hitler. He's like a mix between like the Master Control and Oprah. Everybody's getting life cycle. It's crazy. That was a very weird analogy, but yeah. So he's been forced into exile by himself, basically. And although he has all this control, he can't leave for certain reasons. So so his son goes in, and it feels very cool because you see these iconic things that you grew up with and that thought that they look cool back then, and you're always thinking like, wow, like life cycles would be awesome. But now, like, to see the modern version of it, and it's not this over the top boisterous, lines of color and everything. It's very solemn and very monotone, but yet it still has this brightness and this beauty to it, which I love. And Jeff Bridges is awesome. He really plays Kevin as like this lost child in a way, to where he's still the Kevin from the first Tron. He says like he uses like 80s slang, radical and stuff like that, and he says man a lot and dude, and it's really cool because it felt like, okay, since he is just meeting his son, since it's his first contact with the outside world in years, he will still be stuck in that old school, I'm still 20 something type attitude, and I love that. um yeah, and the action is pretty good. You know the light cycle race kind of did it for me, but it wasn't the defining moment of the movie. Like, to me, like, the light cycles in like the first Tron, like the defining moment. If you don't know light cycles, then you've never heard of Tron. But this movie just didn't really have like that one defining moment. Well, there were like one or two that were really really good that kind of gave you tingles, kind of, but nothing like standoutish. Um, One thing, I thought that Olivia Wilde, um, she did an excellent job. I forgot the name of the character that she played. I never do this. I apologize. But she was the girl who is with Kevin, uh, who she kind of takes the place of Yuri from the first movie, kind of. Being like the female protagonist, also helping out. And I thought she did really good. She looked really good too. That didn't hurt, but she did really good. And all in all, the characters were three dimensional, and very, it had depth to them, except for like I didn't like Sam, and I didn't like there was another character in the movie who was playing like both sides. Like he was like, uh, playing for like Clue, and he was kind of playing for Kevin and Sam, but there was no real reason why, because he semi threatens Clue, who is obviously way more powerful than this particular character. Yet he's trying to kind of work, and it's like, what are you bribing for? It really kind of got lost, you know. And that was okay, it doesn't really distract you from the movie because you need that opposition, just so you can show how bad the bad guy is. Um, one more thing I didn't like really quickly. Um, Clue, who is based off of Jeff Bridges' self, 20 years earlier, looks really good, but looks disjointed. uh, he fits a little bit better in the Tron world because it's Tron, but like when they show like newsreels, because they were trying to actually say, okay, this is how Kevin Flynn looked in the old movie, so let's show like newsreels of him like talking, being an interview. That felt weird. I don't understand why they just like didn't really use like Jeff Bridges in like a lot of those scenes, like some old footage. Well, they kind of did, but it just felt weird. And it looks like since it was based off of somebody, like my friend told me, he said the reason why they couldn't really use a lot of facial expressions was because it was based off of Jeff Bridges, so it's a little bit harder to do that rather than just some made up fabricated character, because we would instantly know, okay, that's not a face Jeff Bridges makes. But he only had like three faces, and I was like smiling, almost smiling, sinister smile, and he only showed anger, like true anger, like only in like two parts of the movie, and sadness. But his face was still kind of like this stagnant robotic thing, and it wasn't like we were trying to do that. It was like, we couldn't really get a hold of all of Jeff Bridges' facial expressions. But that didn't take away from the character. It was still really cool seeing like him play you know against himself. That was really cool. And so all in all, with all the things I've said, not spoiling anything, it is a good movie. I give it an 8. Solid. You should see it. Don't see it in 3D. 3D is such a waste of time. Uh, not to mention that those glasses are really dark, and at times you feel like going to sleep. But yeah, if you see it, don't see it in 3D.